What's going on, YouTube? I'm back in the darkroom today. I'm gonna walk you through how I made a print. This is a photo I took up in Ellison Bay in Door County. There are these huge bluffs up there, and this was just kind of overlooking Lake Michigan. And what I want to do today is show you how exactly I went from my test strip to the final print. I think there are a lot of different ways to approach printing, and this is just one method. Now for this print, I did use split grade printing, and I don't always do that. So I wanna be really clear. I will judge a negative, make a contact sheet, look at it, and then come up with a game plan from there. So it's very important that you do that. Working in the darkroom is kind of like working in Photoshop. There are so many different ways you can do every step. Like someone might do it completely different, but you might end up with the same result. So there are a lot of variables involved, and I just want people to, if you're new to the darkroom, don't be afraid to experiment and try ways that work for you. So the first thing I did was just made a regular old test strip. Now, this negative is one that on the video I made about contact printing, this is one that if I hadn't printed that down, I might not have ever printed this negative. This was shooting straight into the sun, but the sun was kind of behind the clouds. But you know, as the clouds kind of whisked by, the sun would come out. And so there was a lot more exposure right there, clearly, because it was really bright, and then the rest of it was kind of darker. This picture was taken up in Ellison Bay in Door County, and there are these bluffs overlooking the lake. And as the clouds were wisping by the sun, they would kind of like, the clouds would kind of open up just a little, and I didn't even bring my camera down when we went down there. I just went down to look. And I wouldn't have been set up anyway, but as soon as I got down there, all of a sudden this beam of light came through and like hit the lake. And I was like, I need to go get my camera. So I went back up there's like a trail and a stairway, grabbed my camera, I set it up, and I was sitting there just waiting for this to happen again. So I had everything like all good to go. And of course, you probably know how that is. You're like, okay, it happened once, it's got to happen again, and I'm waiting. And as I was sitting there, I'm set up with my tripod, my Hasselblad, sitting up there just kind of waiting. And there are all these other people that were up there enjoying the view and you know, on vacation and whatnot. And I think 3 or 4 of them are like, what are you taking a picture of? Because my camera is just out over the lake, and it's just kind of a gray kind of day. And one gal was like, oh, I saw it. And I was like, yeah, you did? And I'm like, yeah, like, so she like knew what I was doing, but everybody else just looked at me like I was kind of crazy, which I'm pretty used to, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But so anyway, the first thing I did was made a test strip, and I wanted to see kind of overall. I knew I was gonna have to print this with a soft grade no matter what to get that sky down, and that's back to what I was talking about with the negatives in the proof sheet. So when I look at the negative, I could see the sun, I could see there was density, like you could clearly see the outline of the sun and the clouds there. But in the first contact sheet, that was just all blown out. So at proper exposure, that was completely like blown. But when I printed that down, now the rest of the print looked really good. It was just that one spot that was blown out. So when I printed it down in the contact sheet, I could clearly see that it wouldn't be difficult to just burn this down with a low grade, and it would look amazing. So yeah, this was 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 seconds. And this was all with a filter 00, and this was on resin coated paper. So I started the test print on resin coated paper. I developed it in Ilford PQ developer, 1:9 with the resin coated 1.5 minutes. It looks like about 15 seconds is where I wanted to start. So that's what I did. Now at 20 seconds, it looks pretty good, but because I'm split grade printing, I know I'm gonna add more exposure on top of that, and it will add a little bit of density. So I went with 15 seconds, and then the next thing I did was, yeah, I just did a split. And you know, like I said, I approach things differently based on the negative. A lot of times, you know, you might burn an area and dodge an area, and you could kind of do it in reverse if you wanted to. So I just kind of, printing for me, I go a little bit by feel. And for this negative in particular, because it's just kind of a moody, interesting picture, I didn't want to get too technical with it. So I just started kind of dodging and burning and kind of felt around with it. But the first test print I did was, I don't know if you can see that. The first test print I did was 15 seconds of the low grade and 15 seconds with the grade 5. So 15 seconds with 0.0 filter, 15 seconds with a number 5 filter. And that got me this, which it looked pretty good. It looked, I mean, for first print, I was like, yeah, I like this. And then there were a few things I wanted to do. Now, if you look, and I'll scan these two and show you, but if you look at the, like how dark this is in here, there's a lot of separation in that shadow area. So I wanted to add some contrast in there and dodge up those shadows. Then I also wanted to even out this, where the sun is actually hitting the water, because it was a little bit of my OCD, but it kind of was trailing off this way. And I wanted to kind of try and even that off into this side a little bit if I could. I felt that would balance it out a little bit better. And then I was totally wrong. I was looking at that, I'm like, oh, that looks like the sun is already burned in. So this is actually the one I did, sorry. Because then if you see, this was the straight print, 15 seconds and 15 seconds. And you can see how this is blown out. I grabbed the wrong one. But so this was actually my second print. That one was actually one where I did some dodging and burning. So like I said, I wanted to even this area out a little bit, dodge up these clouds, get a little separation there, and then burn down the sun and the sky a little bit more with a 0.0 filter, and then add a little bit more contrast to the top. And that was basically the idea. And like I said, for this one, I just kind of, this was the third print. And this one, I just did some dodging and burning and came up with something that I liked. And, you know, I think I added additional dodging here. I burned down the sun, and then I decided, you know what, I'm so close to liking this, and it's kind of just a print I'm gonna have to work on a little bit anyway. So then I switched over to the Ilford Multigrade Classic. Yeah, so here's kind of the final one. And then of course I was taking notes the whole time. So this was one of the final work prints before I went on to make the final one. And what I noticed was I was getting too much contrast. So I'm gonna go through and print this again and show you exactly how I did it. This is on Ilford Multigrade, Ilford PQ Developer 1 to 9 for 3 minutes. So the base was 50 seconds with a 2x ND filter, and then I split graded it based on this print map, and I'll put this print map up. Let's check it out. So I'm putting the ND filter underneath the lens here for the first exposure, and that's gonna allow me to get more time in dodging this water and that really dark band of clouds. So that's why I'm doing that. So that takes it from basically the 15-second base exposure. It took it up to 30, then 60, and then I backed it off a little bit. The print was getting a little bit too muddy, so I backed it off a little bit and ended up at 50 seconds for the yellow exposure. So yeah, here's my dodge and burn tools, and I'm just gonna get everything set. The filter's in there. Everything's focused up and level, so we're gonna get a piece of paper. 0.0 filter, everything's set. I have the metronome on, and I have the timer set for 50 seconds. So the first thing I'm gonna do is dodge that water out for 20 seconds. Then I'm going to dodge the clouds out for 15 seconds and the water out again right before that for 8 seconds. So let's go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, now I have to take the ND filter out. Then burn this in for 20 seconds, still at the 00 filter. 1,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we'll go ahead with the 00, and this was 6 seconds without the ND filter at the red, and then it was a Skyburn for 10 seconds, then +4, and then 6 seconds on the water. And during the base exposure, I dodged this corner out because it was getting a little bit too black. So I'm at -2 on that one. So we're just gonna, I think I can do it all in 50 seconds. Let's raise this all up a little. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it was 6 seconds down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's it. Let's get this developed. All right, so here is the final print. It is mounted, matted, and ready to go in a frame. Now it's gonna be hard to see on here. I'll put the picture up on the screen. But the main thing I dodged was this really dark cloud line, and so it gave me some shadow separation in there. And then I dodged the water here, burned this down, and burned the sun, and then added some contrast to the sky. I am really happy with the print, and that is how I made it. Then the last thing I did was a very light sepia. So I lightly bleached the highlights and then developed them back in sepia, but it's very, very subtle. Like if I have a straight print next to this one is really the only time I can tell, and then you can see that the highlights are warmer. Otherwise you wouldn't necessarily know it on this one. And then the grays are nice and steely, and just a good rendition of what I remember from that day. So I'm very happy that I actually did go back up and get my camera, come back down, because I'm very happy with the picture and I love it. So that's gonna do it for this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you wanna see more darkroom and photography related videos. Until next time.